I look at my reflection in the mirror and don't recognize this woman with thin gray hair arranged in a modest style, with wrinkles around her eyes and deep creases around her mouth. 68 years old. Each year leaves its mark, erases something of the old Rowena Hampton and adds a new one. Another wrinkle, another gray hair, another reason to sigh in the morning. Today is Austin's birthday. 44 years old for my only son. In recent years, every family celebration has become an ordeal. I square my shoulders and pull a gray dress with pearl buttons out of my closet. Not too dressy, not too casual. Just right for the birthday boy's mother, who should be somewhere on the periphery of the festivities. As I get ready, my thoughts drift back to the past. Baden, my husband, died 23 years ago, a sudden heart attack at the age of 49. At the time, I was left alone with a 20-year-old son and a huge backlog of unpaid bills. I'd worked as a bookkeeper for a small construction company, Wheatland Construction, since Austin was 5. 38 years in the same office, at the same desk, with the same numbers, documents, reports. After Baden died, I started working overtime, taking on extra projects to pay for Austin's college and our bills. Financial problems taught me to save money. I put every dollar I had into a savings account. Every time I got a raise, I increased the amount I was saving. I learned to live modestly. I rarely bought new clothes, never went to expensive restaurants, never took out loans. And the years of such austerity have borne fruit. I look at my watch. There are 2 hours left before the start of the party. Enough time to finish the gift. The gift box is already waiting on the kitchen table. The expensive new cufflinks Austin had picked up at the store a month ago. He didn't ask to buy them directly, just left the online store page open on his laptop when I came to visit. My son has always been good at hinting. Next to the box is an envelope with a check for $10,000 for unexpected expenses, as I'll write in the greeting card. These unexpected expenses have become a tradition. Every year, Austin calls me with a problem. They have a leaky roof, they need a new car, or they can't make their house payment. I've always been there for him. Our relationship changed when he married Celeste 12 years ago. A beautiful, well-groomed woman with a cold stare and a perfect smile. She works as a beautician at an expensive beauty salon in downtown Wheatland. Works is a bit of a mouthful. She shows up there 2 or 3 times a week to service a few of her regular clients from the city's high society. The rest of the time she spends at the gym, at meetings with friends, in spas. Their house in the upscale Wheatland neighborhood is a mockery of my modest apartment. I made the down payment on it, $50,000 I'd been saving for 5 years. Then Austin said it was temporary, that he'd pay it back as soon as his business picked up. He works as an insurance agent, and his business is always about to go up. But for some reason, it never does. I sigh and tuck the check into the envelope. $10,000. An amount I once never would have imagined, now just another gift for my son to spend without even thinking about how long it took me to earn it. 3 weeks ago, when I stopped by their house to drop off a gift for Sybil, my 15-year-old granddaughter, I overheard Celeste talking on the phone. Yes, I tried to find out her account balance, but the bank said they need a power of attorney or her personal presence. Can you imagine that? All I wanted to do was check to see how wealthy she was. A woman of her age should have a plan in case of, That's when I realized that my sister-in-law was trying to gain access to my bank accounts. The thought of planning to handle my money behind my back hit me harder than I could have expected. That same day, I transferred all my savings, $3 million, to a new account at a different bank. Yes, $3 million. That number still seems unreal to me. 38 years of work, prudent investments, interest from deposits, no major spending on myself. It had all turned into an amount most people can only dream of. Money that was supposed to provide me with a peaceful old age and help my family after my death. Except now I'm beginning to question whether my family deserves that help. My phone rings, and I see Sybil's name on the screen. The only silver lining in this dark relationship. Grandma, are you getting ready? Her voice sounds excited. Yes, darling. I'll be at your place in an hour, I answer, feeling my heart warm at her call. That's great. I have something for you. It's a surprise, so don't ask. She giggles into the phone. I'll look forward to it. I smile. After a short conversation, I sink back into my thoughts. Sybil is the only one who is genuinely excited to have me in their house. She looks just like Baden, the same dark eyes, the same habit of wrinkling her nose when she laughs. Sometimes I think she's my atonement for all the mistakes I made raising Austin. And there were a lot of mistakes. After Baden died, I was so afraid of losing my son too, that I let him do everything. I couldn't say no when he asked for money for a new computer, for a trip with friends, for expensive clothes. I worked 2 jobs so that he could have nothing to deny himself. And instead of gratitude, I got a kid who took everything for granted. He was expelled from college after his sophomore year for failing. He came home, lay on the couch and watched TV while I worked. When I tried to talk to him about the future, he rolled his eyes and said I didn't understand him. I got him a job at my friend's insurance company. He started at the bottom, but quickly moved up because of his charm and ability to talk to people. That's where he met Celeste, who came in to get insurance on her new car. 3 months later, they announced their engagement. 2 more months later, they had a wedding that I spent almost all of my savings on. At the time, I thought it was worth every penny to see my son happy. But the happiness didn't last long. A year later, money problems began. Celeste wanted to live in a big house, drive an expensive car, wear brand name clothes. Austin could not provide such a lifestyle, and they began to take loans. And when the loans stopped, they came to me. I remember the night Austin first asked me for a large sum of money. He was sitting in my kitchen, coffee cup in hand, talking about how the bank was threatening to repossess their car for non-payment. $5,000. I gave him the money without question. Then there was another $5,000 for roof repairs, $10,000 for medical bills when Sybil was born, $20,000 when Austin decided to start his own business, which burned through in 6 months. I realize now that I wasn't helping. I was making it worse. Every time I paid their bills, I only reinforced Austin's belief that it was possible to live beyond your means, that there would always be someone, me, to solve their problems. A year ago, I tried to talk to him about it. We were sitting in a cafe away from Celeste and Sybil. I told him I couldn't be their financial airbag anymore, that they needed to learn to live within their means. He looked at me like I'd betrayed him. "Do you feel sorry for your own son?" He asked me then. "Why are you saving it? Are you going to take it to the grave with you?" Then I backed off. I agreed to help one more time, one last time. But this last time has happened again and again. 3 months ago, when I refused to pay for their vacation in the Bahamas, Austin didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. Then he called and said Sybil missed me. It was his way of pulling me back into their lives without apologizing. I sigh and look at my watch. It's time to go out. I grab the gift box and the envelope with the check and walk out of the apartment. My old Ford is waiting in the parking lot. Celeste always wrinkles her nose when she sees that car outside their house. "Why don't you get something newer, Rowena? This wreck is ruining the look of our street." On the way to my son's house, I think about what I expect from this evening. Nothing good, to be honest with myself. There will be Celeste's strained smile, Austin's condescending tone, the curious looks from their friends who probably only know about me that I'm Austin's rich mom. I park 2 blocks away from their house. There are no more spaces left on their street. I walk slowly, enjoying the warm spring evening. Maybe this is my way of delaying the inevitable. As I approach the house, I see Sybil waiting for me on the porch. She runs toward me, her long brown hair fluttering in the wind. "Grandmother!" She hugs me so tightly that I almost drop the present. "I'm so glad you came." "I would never have missed your father's birthday," I reply, kissing her forehead. She takes my hand and leads me into the house, talking excitedly about school, about her friends, about the new book she's reading. I listen and think about how lucky I am to have a granddaughter. The living room is already packed with guests, Austin and Celeste's friends, mostly similarly well-off middle-aged couples. Austin is standing in the center of the room with a glass of whiskey in his hand, telling some story. Celeste is sitting on the couch, cross-legged, with a perfect smile on her face. When she notices me, her smile becomes strained. "Rowena, finally." She stands up and walks over to me, hugging me so as not to mess up her hair. "We were already starting to worry. That's a lie. They weren't worried. They were probably hoping I wouldn't show up." "Sorry I'm late," I reply, even though I know I was right on time. "Happy birthday, Austin." My son turns to me, a smile on his face that doesn't reach his eyes. Mom, he walks over and gives me a hug. He smells of expensive cologne and alcohol. I'm glad you could make it. I hand him the gift and he thanks me without opening the box. He knows it's exactly what he wanted inside. He tosses the envelope carelessly on the table with the other gifts. To him, this check is just another drop in the sea of money he's used to getting from me. The evening goes on, and I feel more and more out of place among these people. I sit in the corner of the living room watching Austin and Celeste play the part of the perfect couple. They laugh, they hug each other, they tell stories about their wonderful lives. None of the guests know about the fact that 2 days ago, Celeste yelled at Austin over unpaid bills. I only know about it because Sybil told me over the phone. Sybil sits down next to me and holds out a plate of appetizers to me. They're faking it again, she whispers with a wisdom not befitting her age. Everyone fakes it sometimes, sweetheart, I reply, stroking her arm. Not you, she looks at me seriously. You're always real. Her words touch me to the core. Maybe I really am the only person in this family who doesn't play a role. And maybe that's why I'm so out of place in their lives. When Celeste announces that it's time to cut the cake, I decide to go to the bathroom to freshen up. On the way, I pass by Austin's office and hear voices. The door is ajar and I see my son and Celeste leaning over the computer. As soon as she retires, we can convince her to rewrite her will, Celeste says. She loves Sybil. We'll say the money will go towards the girl's education. Mama would never agree to give away all her savings, says Austin. She's too careful with money. Come on, Celeste laughs. She always gives you what you ask for. You just have to find the right approach. By the way, did you get her check? Yeah, $10,000 the usual, he sighs. It's barely enough to pay off my car loan, though. $10,000. Celeste shakes her head. She could give more. She must have millions in her account. And she's giving us crumbs like we're beggars. I back away from the door, feeling cold inside. They're discussing my money like they already own it, planning how to access my savings, and Austin. Austin talks about my gift with such disappointment, as if I didn't give him a portion of my savings but just threw in change. I go to the bathroom, close the door, and stare at my reflection in the mirror. When did my family turn into vultures waiting for me to die so they could inherit? When did my son start taking my help for granted? When did I let this happen? Taking a deep breath, I wash my face with cold water and return to the living room just as Austin, already visibly drunk, raises his glass for a toast. I look at him and think about how things are about to change. They don't know it yet, but today will be a turning point in our lives. Because I can't go on living like this anymore. I can't pretend that I can't see their true attitude towards me. I can't let them use me. It's time for a change. And I'm going to start by listening to Austin very, very carefully. Austin raises his glass and all the guests fall silent. I can see that he's a little shaky. He's had at least 5 shots of whiskey this evening. His eyes glisten with a feverish gleam, and his smile seems a little wider than usual. Signs I learned to recognize when he was a teenager. My son is drunk and about to say something he'll regret. Friends, his voice is too loud for the cozy living room. Thank you for coming to celebrate my 44th birthday. Sybil walks over to me and takes my hand. I feel a slight shake, a sign of support. She too sees my father's state of mind and senses that the evening may not go as planned. 44 years. Austin pauses and sips from his glass. The age when you start to think about what you've accomplished in life and what you want to accomplish. Celeste stands beside him, her hand possessively resting on his shoulder. She smiles, but her eyes are wary of her husband. Even through the flawless makeup, you can see the tension on her face. I have everything a man could dream of, Austin continues, circling the living room. A beautiful home, a loving wife, a wonderful daughter, a successful career. That last phrase makes me chuckle bitterly. His successful career as an insurance agent barely brings in enough money to cover half of their expenses. The rest is covered by either Celeste's salary or my gifts. But you know what I'm missing to make me happy? He pauses dramatically, and I feel Sybil's hand tense in my palm. Freedom! Freedom to be myself without regard for other people's expectations. His gaze slides across the room and stops on me. In that moment, my heart sinks. I see something cold, almost hostile in his eyes. My mom always wanted the best for me. His tone becomes wimpy, insincere. Always been there for me when I needed help. Sometimes even too close, if you know what I mean. A few of the guests laugh awkwardly, the rest of us watching the situation unfold with interest, like an audience in a theater. Celeste tries to unobtrusively take his glass from him, but Austin pulls away. You know what I dream about on my birthday? His voice gets louder. That the people who think they know how I should live my life will finally leave me alone. I wish I didn't have to account for every dollar I spend. He looks right at me, and I can see the mixture of resentment, anger, and alcoholic recklessness in his eyes. About my mother finally disappearing from my life and letting me breathe freely. Now that would be a real birthday present. There is dead silence in the room. The faces of the guests are frozen in expressions of embarrassment and shock. Sybil squeezes my hand so hard it hurts, but I hardly feel it. My entire being is focused on the words my son has just spoken. For my mother to finally disappear from my life. Years of caring, sleepless nights, working to the bone, saving money on myself, all wiped out by one phrase thrown in a drunken stupor. But something tells me there's more truth in that alcoholic revelation than in all his assurances of love and gratitude. Celeste is the first to wake up. Honey, you've had too much to drink. She laughs strainedly, turning to the guests. Sorry, he always gets a little dramatic after the third drink. I'm not dramatic, I'm honest. Austin snaps back, but lets his wife take the glass from him. Don't all parents become a burden to their children at some point? The question hangs in the air like a poisonous gas slowly spreading through the room. I see some of the older guests exchange glances. Perhaps they are parents of grown children themselves and are wondering the same thing. I slowly release my hand from Sybil's palm. My face is frozen with a mask of calm, though inside everything is seething with pain and anger. Years of practice have taught me not to show my true feelings, especially in situations like this. I think we all need a piece of cake, Celeste said, trying to lighten the atmosphere. Rowena, will you help me in the kitchen? It's her way of getting me out of the room, saving me from further humiliation. Perhaps the only act of kindness on her part all evening. I nod and follow her, feeling the sympathetic glances of the guests. In the kitchen, Celeste closes the door and turns to me. Her perfect face is contorted with a grimace of irritation. I know Austin went overboard, but you could at least try not to look like a martyr. She pulls a cake out of the fridge. He's just drunk. Tomorrow he won't even remember what he said. But would he say it if he didn't think? My voice sounds quiet but firm. Celeste freezes, then slowly turns to me. In her eyes, I see not remorse, but calculation. She's trying to figure out how seriously I take my son's words. Don't be dramatic, Rowena. She rolls her eyes. Austin loves you. He's just tired of your constant presence. You must realize that a young family needs space. A young family? I can't help but chuckle bitterly. Austin is 44 years old, Celeste. You've been married 12 years. You're hardly what you'd call a young family. She clenches her teeth, and I can see the jaundice playing on her cheekbones. For the first time all evening, her mask of perfect hostess cracks, revealing her true face. You know what? Maybe Austin's right. Her voice becomes harsh. Maybe you really should just back off a little bit. Let us live our own lives without your constant supervision and conditions. Conditions? I can feel my voice shaking with indignation. When did I put conditions on you? When I paid the down payment on your house? Or when I paid Sybil's private school tuition? Or maybe when I paid off your car loan last year? See? Celeste almost hisses. You keep bringing up the money you gave us. Like we're forever in debt to you. Like you bought the right to control our lives. I never tried to control your life, I reply, feeling every word struggle. I just wanted to help. Your help is suffocating us. Celeste picks up the cake knife, and there's an ill-concealed aggression in her movements. Do you know that Austin still feels like a failure because of you? Because he can't provide for his family the way you think he should? I remain silent, shocked by her words. Am I so blind that I didn't see how my help has become a burden on my son? Or is this just another of Celeste's manipulations? Sybil, I change the subject. How is she taking all this? Celeste's face changes instantly, back to her usual mask of caring mother. Sybil is fine. She understands that family relationships can be difficult. And then she's not a child anymore. She doesn't need her grandmother spoiling her and undermining our parental authority. That's the last straw. The thought that they might use Sybil as a bargaining chip in our conflict makes me coldly furious. Leave Sybil out of this, Celeste. My voice is quiet, but there's steel in it. She deserves better than to be a pawn in your games. Celeste is about to reply, but the kitchen door opens and one of the guests enters, Elizabeth, I believe, the wife of Austin's co-worker. I apologize, ladies. She smiles awkwardly, sensing the tension between us. I was just wondering if there was anything I could do to help with the cake. It's fine, Elizabeth. Celeste instantly switches into perfect hostess mode. Rowena and I were just discussing how many candles to put on the cake. After all, at our age, you don't always want to admit the true number of years, do you? She laughs, and Elizabeth joins her. I watch the scene in silence, amazed at how easily Celeste changes masks. I'll help you take the cake out, I say, deciding it's better to go back to the guests than to continue this pointless conversation. We walk out into the living room, where the atmosphere has already lightened up a bit. Someone has turned on some music, and the guests have broken into small groups and are having conversations. Austin is sitting in an armchair, his gaze unfocused and his whiskey glass in his hand again. Sybil is nowhere to be seen. Celeste places the cake on the table in the center of the living room and claps her hands, drawing attention. And now for the most important moment of the evening, she announces. Austin, honey, come here. My son struggles to rise and walks over to the table, swaying slightly. I notice some of the guests exchanging glances. They are clearly embarrassed by his condition. Make a wish, my love. Celeste lights the candles. Austin closes his eyes for a second, then leans over and blows out all the candles with one exhale. The guests applaud and Celeste begins cutting the cake. I look around for Sybil and, not finding her in the living room, decide to check her room. I walk up the stairs, trying not to attract attention. In the second-floor hallway, I hear muffled sobs coming from the door of my granddaughter's room. I knock softly and, without waiting for an answer, go in. Sybil is sitting on the bed with her arms around her knees. Her eyes are red with tears. Grandmother, she looks up at me, and her face contorts with a new wave of tears. He shouldn't have said that. He had no right. I sit down next to her and put my arm around her shoulders. Her body shakes with held-back sobs. Hush, sweetheart. I stroke her hair. Your father just had too much to drink. He didn't mean it. Yes, he did. Sybil pulls back and looks me in the eye with sudden hardness. I heard her and Mother talking about you yesterday. They think that you ought to give them all your money. Mom said you don't need it anymore, but they need it to live well. Her words hit me like a slap in the face, even though I'd already guessed about these conversations. It's one thing to suspect, and quite another to get confirmation from Sybil. They're always fighting about money, she continued, wiping away her tears. Papa says Mama spends too much, and Mama yells that he doesn't earn enough. And then they both say you could help more, but you're holding on to your millions. I can feel the blood draining from my face. So they're discussing my finances in front of Sybil, making me out to be a greedy old woman who refuses to help her own family. Granny, how much money have you got? Sybil suddenly asks. Are you really a millionaire? I look into her curious eyes and realize I can't lie. Not to her. I have savings, darling. Enough to live comfortably and not worry about the future. But it's not about the amount of money, it's about how people treat each other. I know, she nods with unexpected wisdom. Mom only thinks about money, and she makes Dad think the same way. But you're not like that. You give me books, not expensive trinkets like they do. You talk to me, not just brush me off. Her words touch me to the core. In that moment, I realize that perhaps not all my efforts have been in vain. Perhaps my love and concern have resonated, just not where I expected. I don't want their money, Sybil. I don't want yours either. I take her hand. I just want you to be happy and know that I love you no matter what. I know, Grandma. She hugs me. And I love you too. Please don't be mean to Daddy. He's not always like this. I know, honey. We sit like this for a few minutes, embraced, in the silence of the room, broken only by the muffled sounds of music and voices from downstairs. Then I hear footsteps in the hallway and a knock on the door. Sybil? Rowena? Celeste's voice sounds irritated. Are you here? The guests are asking for you. I can feel Sybil tense in my arms. We'll be right down, I said, not opening the door. All right, but hurry up. It's awkward to have the birthday boy and his family all over the house, she said, her tone a tone of ill-concealed displeasure. The footsteps receded and Sybil sighed. I'll have to go. She stood up and adjusted her dress. Are you coming with me, grandmother? Of course, I said, smiling. Just give me a minute to tidy up. When Sybil leaves, I am alone in her room. The picture on the bedside table catches my eye, me and Sybil in the park, both laughing, looking at the camera. The picture is from 2 years ago when we spent a whole day together without Austin and Celeste. It was one of the happiest days of my life. I return to the living room, where the party continues, but with a tinge of forced merriment. Austin is still drinking, now barely concealing his condition. Celeste is making small talk with a group of women, her laughter sounding too loud, too fake. Sybil is standing at the window away from the fun. I head toward her, but am stopped by one of the guests, an older man I vaguely remember as a former colleague of Austin's. Mrs. Hampton, he says quietly with sympathy in his voice, I just wanted to say that I admire your dignity. Not everyone can keep their composure after saying that. Thank you, I reply, not knowing what else to say. My son sometimes says things he regrets too, he continued. This generation, they don't understand the value of family the way we do. I nod, grateful for his support, though unnecessary. I don't need sympathy from strangers. I need my own son to appreciate me, not for the money I can give him, but for simply being his mother. At this point, Austin rises to his feet, his movements clumsy and his speech slurred. Another toast, he announces, spilling whiskey from his glass. To the most controlling mother in the world. The guests freeze, Celeste goes pale, and I feel the blood rush to my face. Austin, I think you should sit down, I say quietly, walking over to him. And I think you should stop telling me what to do. He raises his voice, and a few of the guests instinctively back away. My whole life you've been trying to control me. Austin, study harder. Austin, don't be friends with those boys. Austin, that girl is no good for you. I never told you who to be friends with or who to marry. My voice stays calm, even though I'm seething inside. You didn't? What about Lydia? He's practically screaming. You couldn't stand her. You kept saying she wasn't right for me. Lydia is the ex-girlfriend he dated before Celeste, the girl who really loved him but didn't match his ambitions, wasn't prestigious enough. I never said she wasn't right for you, I reply. I only said that you should be sure of your choice because marriage is serious. See? He turns to the guests, waving his arms. It's always like that. Never straightforward, but he'll make you feel guilty. Celeste walks up to him and tries to take him under her arm. Honey, let's continue this conversation later. Guests. To hell with the guests, he waves her away. They need to know what you're really like, Mom, how you buy our gratitude with your money, how you make us feel like failures because we can't live our lives the way you think we should. I never tried to control you. My voice shakes, but I keep talking. I just wanted to help. Your help is suffocating us. He repeats Celeste's words, and I realize they've discussed this more than once. We can't breathe because of your expectations, because of your constant reminder of how much you've done for us. Silence reigns in the room. I see some of the guests lower their eyes. Others look at me with sympathy or curiosity. Sybil stands in the corner, her face pale, her eyes wide with horror. And suddenly I feel relief, as if the heavy burden I've been carrying all these years has finally fallen from my shoulders. No more pretending everything's okay. No more turning a blind eye to the way I'm being treated. I understand, I say quietly, looking straight into my son's eyes. You're right. The best gift for you would be for me to disappear from your life. His face changes, something like fear flickering in his eyes. Perhaps he's only now realizing what he said. Mom, that's not what I meant, he stammered, his tone changing. No, that's exactly what I meant. I calmly pick up my purse from the table. And you know what? I'm going to give you this gift. I turn to Sybil, who is looking at me with terror in her eyes. I'm sorry, sweetheart, I tell her. It's time for Grandma to go home. Grandma, no. She takes a step toward me, but I stop her with a gesture. It's all right, Sybil. Sometimes people need space from each other. Your father's right. I've interfered too much in your life. I glance around the living room, meeting eyes with each of the guests. I apologize for this unpleasant episode. I hope the evening will still be pleasant. And with those words, I head for the exit. No one tries to stop me. Even Celeste looks too stunned to say anything. Only Sybil rushes after me, but she's stopped by Austin, who finally seems to be starting to realize what he's done. Mama, wait! His voice comes from somewhere behind me, but I'm already closing the front door behind me. The warm spring evening greets me with silence. I take a deep breath of fresh air, feeling my hands shake. The tears I've been holding back all evening finally break through, and I let them flow as I walk to my car. The last thing I hear is Sybil's voice shouting to me from the second-story window. Grandma, please don't go like that. But I don't turn around. I can't, because I know if I do, I might change my mind. And now, for the first time in years, I'm absolutely sure of the rightness of my decision. I get in the car and start the engine. In the rearview mirror, I see Austin run out of the house, but he stops on the porch, hesitant to approach. Maybe he's afraid I won't stop. And he's right. I slowly pull away from their house, feeling every meter between us bring a strange relief. For the first time in a long time, I feel free from the weight of expectations, both my own and other people's. The best gift would be for you to disappear from my life. Well, Austin will get his gift, but not quite in the way he expects. The drive home seems endless. My hands shake on the steering wheel, and Austin's words play over and over in my head. Tears blur my vision, but I don't stop to wipe them away. Let them flow. They might be the last tears I shed because of him. I park outside my apartment building, an ordinary 5-story on the outskirts of Wheatland. It's nothing special, but for the past 20 years, this place has been my haven. A modest 1-bedroom apartment on the 3rd floor, a place where I lived frugally, saving every extra dollar. I climb the stairs, unlock the door, and turn on the light. Everything looks the same, but it feels different. Like I'm back in someone else's house. Or like I've become a stranger myself. I kick off my shoes and make my way to the bedroom. I open the closet and look at the 2 large suitcases standing in the back. They're already packed, ready for the trip I've been planning for the past few months. I'm not a crazy or impulsive old woman. I've been waiting for this moment, anticipating its inevitability. Perhaps not in such dramatic circumstances, but deep down I knew that sooner or later I would have to leave Austin's life. That sooner or later the mask of a grateful son would fall off completely and he would show his true colors. 3 months ago, when I first heard Celeste talk about my bank accounts, something inside me changed. It was like a fuse had blown, protecting me from the bitter truth. I started to see clearly, act with determination. The first thing I did was change my bank details. I opened a new account at a different bank in a neighboring town where no one knew me. I transferred most of my savings there, leaving only the bare minimum for everyday expenses in the old account. Then I began to get rid of things that had accumulated over the years. Nothing of value, just junk that was long overdue to be gotten rid of. Old magazines, clothes I hadn't worn in years, kitchen utensils that had been gathering dust on the shelves. I didn't want to leave any trace of my old life behind. I rented a small house in the coastal town of Pine Haven, 300 miles from Wheatland. Found it on the internet, paid 3 months' rent in advance. No one, not even the landlord, knows my real name. I used my maiden name and middle name, Elizabeth Crane. I take out my suitcases and set them by the door. I return to the living room and sit down at the desk. I open a drawer and pull out an envelope with a new cell phone, a simple prepaid card. Only I know the number. And soon, Sybil. I take out a piece of paper and a pen. I think for a moment, choosing my words. This will be the most important letter of my life. Dear Sybil, I hope this letter finds you in good health. I'm sorry I left so suddenly, but I think you understand why I had to do it. I'm not gone forever. I just need time to myself, away from the the complications that have arisen between me and your parents. Inside the envelope, you'll find a cell phone. It's our secret line of communication. You can call or text me anytime and I'll always answer. But please don't tell your parents about this phone. They need to understand that some decisions have consequences. Don't worry about me. I'm safe and quite comfortably settled. And remember, no matter what happens between me and your parents, my love for you will never change. Love, your grandmother. I reread the letter, seal it in the envelope along with the phone and sign Sybil's name. I'll mail it tomorrow morning, from the other side of town, so as not to leave a trace. Then I take out another piece of paper. This will be a letter for Austin and Celeste. It will be very different. Austin and Celeste, I have decided to fulfill a birthday wish. I'm disappearing from your lives. Do not try to find me. I do not want to be found. All legal documents related to my finances have been turned over to my attorney. My savings are now in a safe place. Rowena. The brevity of this message seems fitting to me. No emotion, no accusations. Just a statement of fact. I set aside my pen and glance at the clock. It's almost midnight. Time to finalize the last of my preparations. I pull out the small box from the closet that holds the photos. The only personal items I'm taking with me. A picture of Baden, a few shots of little Austin, lots of pictures of Sybil. Suddenly, my gaze falls on a family portrait taken 5 years ago. Me, Austin, Celeste, and 10-year-old Sybil. We're smiling for the camera, standing in front of a Christmas tree. The perfect family, the perfect lie. The day this picture was taken comes to mind. 10 minutes before the picture was taken, Celeste was reprimanding Sybil for soiling her new dress. Austin was arguing with Celeste about the money spent on Christmas presents. And I stood back, watching the circus, thinking that everything could still be fixed, that things would get better. How naive I was. I put the picture aside and closed the box. The past must stay in the past. All that matters now is the future. I check my new cell phone, the one I'll be keeping, making sure it's fully charged and working. Then I methodically walk through the apartment, checking to see if I've forgotten anything important. The blinking light on my home phone catches my attention. A new message. I press the button and hear Austin's voice. Mom, it's me. Listen, I was drunk and I said some things that I shouldn't have said. You know I didn't mean it. Call me back, please. We need to talk. His voice sounds worried but not remorseful. He's not worried about me, but about the consequences of his words. About how my leaving will affect his financial situation. I delete the message before I hear the rest of it. Then I unplug my phone. No one else in this apartment is going to answer the phone. I sit down on the couch and close my eyes. Memories come in waves. There's Austin, the little boy with the shattered knee. I kiss the bruise and he stops crying, smiling through his tears. Here's me and Baden taking him to first grade. He was so excited he forgot his new pencil case at home. We went back to get it after we were late for work. Here's teenage Austin, sullen and withdrawn since his father died. I try to reach out to him, but he pushes me away, blaming me for all his problems. Here he is, standing at the altar with Celeste. So handsome in his new suit. So happy. I'm crying tears of joy, believing that everything will work out. And then, tonight, his words are like knives stabbing into my heart. The best gift would be for you to disappear from my life. I open my eyes. No more tears, only determination. I stand up, grab my suitcases, and look around the apartment one more time. So many years of living within these walls. So many memories. But none that would make me want to stay. I close the door and walk down to the car. I load my suitcases in the trunk and get behind the wheel. The city is asleep. The streets are empty. Perfect time to disappear. On the way, I stop at a 24-hour post office and mail a letter for Sybil. Then I drive to Austin and Celeste's house. The lights in the windows are still on, the parties probably in full swing, or they're fighting about me leaving. I park a block away and wait. An hour later, the last guest car leaves and the house lights go out. I get out of the car, walk up to the house, and drop my short letter in the mailbox. The final touch. I get back in the car and drive out onto the highway leading away from Wheatland. With each mile, I feel the weight of the past slowly letting go of me. Ahead is freedom. A new life ahead. At 5 in the morning, I'm 100 miles from Wheatland. I stop at a roadside cafe for a coffee and some rest. I pull out my laptop and connect to the internet via my cell phone. I log into my bank account. $3,264,587.32. The result of my entire life, expressed in numbers. I click the Transfer Funds button and enter the details of the new account. I confirm the transfer. Done. The money is now completely out of Austin and Celeste's reach. They don't even know this account exists. Don't know the name of the bank, don't know my new name. I close my laptop and finish my coffee. My heart feels light for the first time in a long time. I've done something I should have done a long time ago. At 7 in the morning, I'm on the road again. The road ahead is clear and I pick up the pace. Pine Haven is waiting for me. At this very moment, a new day begins at Austin and Celeste's house. I imagine them waking up hungover with headaches and anxious thoughts. As Austin recalls his words and wrinkles his nose in shame, not because he regrets what he said, but because he fears the consequences. Celeste is probably reassuring him, telling him that I'll cool down soon and come back, that I won't be able to hold a grudge against my own son for long, that my maternal feelings will override my pride. How wrong she is. Of course, they won't care at first. They'll think I'm just letting them know how much they've hurt me. That this is some sort of punishment, a temporary measure. Maybe Austin will try to call me again. Leave another message, more guilty, more insistent. When I don't answer, he'll get angry. He'll tell Celeste that I'm being childish, that I've always been overdramatic. Then they'll find my letter in the mailbox. They'll read it once, twice, a third time, trying to see if I'm serious. Austin will say it's a bluff, that I'm trying to scare them. Celeste won't be so sure. In a day or two, they'll start to worry for real. Not about me, about the money. They'll drive to my house, ring the doorbell, and when I don't answer, use the spare key I gave them years ago, just in case. They'll walk into an empty apartment and see that the most important things are gone. They'll realize that I'm not just offended, I'm gone. I'm really gone. Then panic will set in. They'll call hospitals, the police, my few friends. No one will be able to help them because no one knows where I've gone. I haven't committed a single soul to my plans. And at some point, Austin will get the idea to check his bank account, the one whose details he accidentally saw 2 years ago when I left a statement on my desk, the one he hoped to access after my death. He'll log into online banking. Of course, he knows my password. He snooped when I entered it in his presence, and see nothing, or rather, almost nothing, a few $100s instead of the expected millions. That's when the real hysteria starts. That's when Celeste would show her true colors. She'll accuse Austin of ruining everything with his drunken speeches. She'll say he has to find me immediately and convince me to give him the money back. But they won't find me. They never will unless I want them to. Sybil will be the only one who really misses me. The only one who will care about my welfare, not my money. And she'll be the only one who will know how to contact me. I wonder how long Austin and Celeste will keep the truth from her. How long will they pretend that everything's fine, that Grandma's just taking a little trip? Sooner or later, she's going to have to find out that I took all the money, that her parents are without the financial safety net they've been counting on. How will she react? Will she be disappointed in me? Or will she understand why I did what I did? At noon, I'm 200 miles outside of Wheatland. I stop for gas and a bite to eat. I sit at a table by the window, watching the cars go by, and think about what's going on at Austin's house right now. Maybe they've already found my letter. Maybe they're already rushing to my apartment to see if I'm really gone. Maybe they're already calling the bank, trying to find out what happened to my money. Or maybe they're still asleep, unaware that their lives are about to change forever. I picture the scene. Austin, still in his pajamas, checking my bank account on his laptop. His face changes from surprise to disbelief, then to rage. He yells, calling for Celeste. She comes running, still sleepy, and he shows her the screen. All the money is gone. She took all the money. Celeste can't believe her eyes. She checks herself, enters the password, refreshes the page. The result is the same. The account is almost empty. This can't be, she says. It must be a mistake, a technical glitch. We need to call the bank. But the bank will only confirm. All the funds were transferred early in the morning to another account. Legally, in compliance with all the rules. Nothing can be done. Then the real scandal begins. Accusations, yelling, tears, maybe even breaking dishes. Austin will blame Celeste for being too greedy, too obvious in her intentions. Celeste will blame Austin for his drunken antics at the birthday party. They'll be so busy figuring things out that they won't notice Sybil standing in the doorway with an envelope in her hand. An envelope containing a telephone and a letter from Granny. I pay the bill and go back to the car. It's still a few hours' drive to Pine Haven. I'm in no hurry. I have my whole life ahead of me, a new life without manipulation and hidden expectations, without having to buy my own son's love. At 3 in the afternoon, my new phone rings. The number is unknown, but I guess who it is. Grandma? Sybil's voice is quiet, as if she's afraid of being overheard. Hello, darling, I answered, my heart clenching with tenderness. Are you really gone? For good? I'm gone, but not out of your life forever, I say softly. We'll always be in touch. They're going crazy, she whispers. Dad just got back from the bank. He's yelling at Mom and she's yelling at him. They say you took all the money. It's true. I see no point in hiding the obvious. It's my money, Sybil. I earned it with my own labor. I know, she said, her voice sounding surprisingly mature. They had no right to treat you like that, especially Dad. What he said at the birthday party. Your father said something he's been wanting to say for a long time, I reply. Sometimes alcohol just takes the filters off. They want to find you. They called the police, but they said they can't put out a BOLO because you're an adult and you left voluntarily. They won't find me unless I want them to, I say firmly. And right now, I don't want them to. I understand, she sighs, but I'll miss you. We'll talk a lot, I promise. And maybe someday you'll come visit me, but this must remain our secret. I won't tell anyone, she swears. I have to go. I think my mom's coming. I'll call you later. The conversation ends, and I continue on my way, feeling a strange mixture of sadness and contentment. Sadness at not being able to see Sybil as often as I'd like. Satisfaction at finally being free of the toxic relationship that had suffocated me for years. At 5 o'clock in the evening, I pull into Pine Haven, a small coastal town where no one knows me and no one will be looking for me. The salty sea air fills my lungs, and the sound of the waves reaches even here to the main street. I find the address my landlord gave me, a small white house 2 blocks from the ocean. Simple but cozy, the perfect place to start a new life. I unload my suitcases and bring them inside. It's clean and bright inside, minimal furniture, but everything I need is there. I'll buy the rest later. I don't hurry to unpack. Instead, I walk out onto the small veranda and watch the sunset over the ocean. The sky is turning shades of pink and orange, and the waves are gently rolling in. In that moment, I feel a strange calmness. It's as if my whole life has been leading up to this moment, to this freedom. Like everything that came before work, saving money, making endless concessions to Austin, was just preparation for this life. My life. $3 million. The money I plan to leave to my son. Money that would now give me a chance to live for myself, at least at the end of my life. I don't feel the slightest regret, only a quiet joy and anticipation of a future that finally belongs to me alone. And 300 miles away, in the affluent Wheatland neighborhood, Austin and Celeste's house is probably still raging a storm. They're going through their options, calling banks, hiring private investigators. They can't believe that their dutiful, handy ATM mom would dare to take such a step. They haven't yet realized that they've lost not only money, but also me, and that the latter is probably much more important. But someday they will realize. Someday maybe Austin will realize how much pain he's caused me with his words and his attitude. Maybe he'll even repent. But it will be too late. Because I, Rowena Hampton, have finally made a choice for myself. And that choice is irreversible. The sea breeze ruffles the curtains in my bedroom. I open my eyes and watch the play of light and shadow on the ceiling for a few seconds. A month. It's been a whole month since I left Wheatland and started a new life in Pine Haven. I get out of bed and walk over to the window. The view of the ocean still seems like a miracle to me. The vast blue stretching to the horizon. How could I have lived 68 years without seeing this beauty every day? My little white house has truly become mine this month. I rearranged the furniture, hung curtains, bought some paintings by local artists. I planted flowers in the garden. They are just starting to come up through the ground, but soon they will turn my plot into a real flower garden. On the kitchen table is a postcard from Sybil. A safe, innocent card with a picture of a kitten and the words, "Miss you." Inside, just a signature, no details, no address. We agreed to communicate only by phone so as not to leave a trace. She sent the card through a friend from out of town. I make tea and go out on the veranda. It's early morning. The town is still asleep. Only seagulls shout over the shore, and occasionally a fisherman's car passes by heading out to sea. How strange to feel this freedom. No obligations, no expectations, no guilt. For the first time in years, I'm living completely in the present moment, not constantly thinking about Austin's problems, about his financial difficulties, about how to help him. Of course, I miss Sybil. We talk almost every day, but it's not enough. I miss her laughter, our long conversations over a cup of cocoa, the way she wrinkles her nose when she's not happy about something, just like her grandfather. But I don't miss Austin. I don't miss his perpetually disgruntled face, his demands, his ingratitude. I don't miss Celeste's cold stare, her fake smile, the way she always judged my clothes, my car, my life. A phone call interrupts my musings. It's Sybil. She's calling earlier than usual. "Grandma?" Her voice sounds strained. "Good morning, darling. Is something wrong?" "Daddy hired another detective. Third one this month," she says quietly, clearly afraid of being overheard. "This one seems more competent. He asked a lot of questions about you, your habits, where you might be." "What did you tell him?" I ask, feeling slightly uneasy. "Nothing useful." I hear the chuckle in her voice. "I told him that you've always wanted to go to Florida or Arizona, that you like big cities and noisy places." I smile, smart girl, pointed them in the opposite direction. Pine Haven is a quiet little town on the North Shore that I never mentioned in their presence. "How are your parents?" I ask, though I'm not particularly interested in their well-being. Sybil sighs. "They fight all the time. Mom blames Dad for scaring you off with his words at the birthday party. Dad blames Mommy for being too greedy and obvious. Yesterday, Mom even threatened to leave if Dad didn't find a way to pay you back." I shake my head. So Celeste has finally shown her true colors. Without my money, their marriage is starting to fall apart. What about their finances? That's the question that interests me more. "Not good." Sybil lowers her voice again. "They thought you had a lot more money in your account. They were planning to pay off their loans, buy a new car for Mom, renovate the house, and now they have to save money. Mom's even talking about selling the house and moving to a smaller apartment. I don't feel the slightest regret. They've been living beyond their means for years, relying on me for support. It's time they learned what real life is." "And how are you, sweetheart?" I ask with genuine concern. "I'm fine." She tries to sound cheerful, but I can hear the tiredness in her voice. "School's good. I'm spending more time with my friends so I don't have to hear them fighting." "Maybe you should come visit me for the weekend," I suggest impulsively. "We could spend time together like we used to." There's a pause. I realize I'm asking too much. She'd have to lie to her parents, organize the trip, keep everything a secret. "I wish I could," she finally answers. "But it's too risky right now. They're watching me more closely than usual. They must suspect that I know where you are." "Of course I understand," I answer, hiding my disappointment. "Maybe later when things have calmed down a little." "I will," she said, promise in her voice. "I have to go. My mom will be up soon. Love you, Grandma." "Love you too, sweetheart." After the conversation, I stay on the veranda, looking out at the ocean and thinking about Sybil. Maybe I should have taken her with me. But that would be kidnapping. Besides, for all their faults, Austin and Celeste are her parents. I have no right to break that bond. The day begins as usual. I eat breakfast, then head to the beach for my morning walk. Over this month, I have grown to love these walks, long, leisurely, giving me time to think and enjoy the beauty of nature. The beach is not crowded at this time of year. A few locals walk their dogs, a couple of older men fish from the pier, a young woman does yoga on the sand. I've already met many of the beach's regular visitors. Marge is a 60-something widow who moved here after her husband died. Fred and Harold are elderly fishermen who try to catch something substantial every morning, but usually come back empty-handed but with new stories. Lisa is a local schoolteacher who practices yoga at dawn. They all know me as Elizabeth Crane, a recently widowed woman who has decided to start a new life by the sea. No one asks too many questions. There are lots of people in small coastal towns like this looking for a new beginning. Good morning, Elizabeth! Marge waves at me and I walk over to her. Her little poodle, Peaches, jumps happily around my feet. Good morning, Marge. I smile, bending down to pet the dog. How are you doing? I'm fine, dear. Did you remember the book club tonight? We're discussing The Secret Life of Bees. Of course I haven't forgotten. I nod. I'll be there at 7. Book club is one of my new hobbies. 5 women around my age who meet once a week to discuss a book they've read. It's nothing fancy, but it gives me a chance to socialize with people, make new acquaintances. That's great! Marge pats me on the arm. And don't forget to bring your famous lemon pie. It was a sensation last time. I'm laughing. People always liked my baked goods, but in Wheatland, I rarely had the opportunity to cook for anyone but family. Austin always preferred store-bought desserts, considering them more upscale. I continue my walk, reflecting on how my life has changed this month. I've become calmer, more confident. I stopped constantly thinking about money, about how much I could spend, how much I should set aside, how much I should give to Austin. Now I can afford small pleasures. A new dress, a meal at a restaurant, a ticket to a concert at the local community center. Nothing extravagant. Years of saving money have taught me the value of simple things. But now I spend money on things that make me feel good, not what others think I need. I get home by noon. There's a package waiting for me on my doorstep. The books I ordered online. I rarely bought anything for myself before, especially online. Celeste always made fun of my technophobia and old-fashionedness. But here in Pine Haven, I've started to embrace new technology and discover new possibilities. After lunch, I drive to the local library, my new favorite destination. The library is small but cozy, with big windows and an ocean view. I signed up there the first week after I arrived and have been a regular ever since. Mrs. Crane, minus Miss Parker, the librarian, a young woman with bright red hair, greets me. I put aside for you that gardening book you asked about. Thank you, Miss Parker. I smile, accepting the book. And please, call me Elizabeth. Only if you call me Rachel. She smiles back. Gardening is another new hobby. I never had a garden before, just a few pots of flowers on the balcony of my apartment. Now I have a small plot of land and I'm determined to turn it into a blooming oasis. Oh, and one more thing. Rachel lowered her voice as if about to share a secret. Minus Mr. Elliot asked about you yesterday. I feel my face grow warm. Norman Elliot is a 67-year-old widower and former professor of English literature who moved to Pine Haven 3 years ago. We met at the library 2 weeks ago when we both reached for the same Jane Austen book. Did you? My voice sounds overly interested, and Rachel smiles even wider. Yes, he wanted to know if you were planning to attend the poetry night on Friday. Said he'd love to keep you company. I don't know what to say. The last time I went on a date. Oh my God, 30 years ago? After Baden died, I didn't even think about other men. My whole life revolved around work, Austin and then Sybil. Yeah, I'll think about it, I finally answer, and Rachel nods, clearly pleased with this little drama in the quiet library. I return home with a new book and mixed feelings. Am I really ready for this kind of life change? For a new relationship? Or is it too much and too fast? In the evening before book club, I make the lemon pie that Marge and the others like so much. A simple recipe I remember from my childhood. My mom always said, Rowena, a good lemon pie can solve half of life's problems. I think of my mom, who is long gone. What would she say about me running away? About what I did to Austin? Would she have approved of my decision or disapproved? I'm so immersed in these thoughts that I flinch when the phone rings. It's an unfamiliar number, not Sybil's. I hesitate, but then I answer it. Hello? Mrs. Hampton? A man's voice, unfamiliar. My heart sinks. No one in Pine Haven knows me by that name. Who is it? I ask, trying to keep my voice calm. My name is Alex Morris, and I'm a private investigator hired by your son, Austin Hampton. My voice sounds professional, unemotional. He's very concerned about you and asked me to find you, so they found me after all, or they think they have. I have to be careful. I'm afraid you have the wrong number, I reply. I don't know anyone by that name. Mrs. Hampton, I understand your desire to remain incognito, the detective continues, ignoring my denial. But your son is really concerned. He just wants to make sure you're okay, I repeat. You have the wrong number, my voice gets firmer. Goodbye. I hang up, feeling my hands shaking. How did they find this number? Could Sybil have accidentally let it slip? No, she's too smart for that. Maybe they traced my phone somehow, but it's a new number, unrelated to my old one. The phone rings again. Same number. I don't answer it. It goes silent after the fifth ring, but a minute later a message comes through. Mrs. Hampton, I understand your disbelief, but Austin is truly remorseful and wants to reconcile. He is willing to accept your terms. Please contact me when you are ready to talk. I delete the message. After another minute, the next one arrives. Your granddaughter Sybil misses you very much too. She deserves to see her grandmother. This is getting low, using Sybil to pressure me. I block the number and turn the phone off. My hands are still shaking, but now from anger, not fear. They're not remorseful. They want their money back, not a relationship. And they're willing to use any means, including Sybil, to get their way. I inhale deeply, trying to calm myself. They don't know where I am. If they did, the detective wouldn't have called. He'd have come in person. This is just an attempt to get information out, to get me to give myself away. Tomorrow I'll buy a new phone with a new number. I'll give it only to Sybil, with a warning to be even more careful. The detective's call spoiled my mood, but I won't let it spoil my evening. I finish my pie, change, and go to Marge's house where the book club is meeting. Elizabeth, darling, Marge meets me at the door. We were beginning to think you weren't coming. Sorry I'm late, I smile, handing her the pie. I was a little late with the baking. The other club members were already gathered in the living room. Jean, a former school teacher. Dorothy, the owner of the local flower store. Eva, a retired librarian. And Carla, the youngest of us, a recently divorced woman in her 50s. Elizabeth has brought her famous pie, Marge announces, and the women murmur in approval. We spend the next 2 hours discussing the book, drinking tea, eating pie, and sharing news. A typical book club evening. But for me, it's so much more than that. It's an affirmation that I can build new connections, create a new life. That I'm not just Austin's mom or Sybil's grandma, but a person with my own interests, opinions, friendships. So, Elizabeth, Carla saunters over to me as the formal part of the evening ends, and the women break into small groups for more personal conversations. Marge tells me that Norman Elliott is showing interest in you. I can feel myself blushing. News travels fast in a small town. It's just a friendly chat, I reply, trying to sound casual. Of course it is, Carla winks. That's why he asked Fred what kind of flowers you like. He did? Is news to me, and I can't hide a smile. Yeah, Carla is pleased with the effect she's having. Norman is a good man, Elizabeth. Educated, well-mannered, with a sense of humor, and he's clearly fascinated by you. I'm not sure I'm ready for a relationship, I confess. It's been years since No one's talking about a serious relationship, Carla shakes her head. Just a nice chat, maybe dinner or a walk on the beach. Don't deprive yourself of the little pleasures, Elizabeth. Her words make me think. Really, why not allow myself a little joy? Why should I turn down the possibility of a new relationship because of fear or prejudice? When I get home, it's late. I turn on my phone and see 3 missed calls from Sybil. I call her back immediately, feeling anxious. Grandma? Her voice sounds worried. Where have you been? I've been trying to call. I'm sorry, honey. I was at book club and I turned my phone off, I explain. What happened? The detective Dad hired. He says he found you, or at least your phone number. He called you? Yes, he did, I sigh. But I didn't confirm it was me. And I blocked his number. Good, Sybil sounds relieved. I was afraid they'd actually found out where you were. Dad was so excited when the detective said he'd found a way to contact you. How did he even find that number? I ask, still puzzled by it. I don't know. Sybil sounds sincere. I swear I never gave your number to anyone. Maybe he tracked the calls from my phone somehow? It's possible. I didn't think of the danger. I'll buy a new phone tomorrow and warn Sybil to be more careful. Grandma! Sybil's voice is getting quieter, more serious. They really are desperate. Mama's threatening to leave Papa. Says he's ruined their financial future by scaring you away, and Dad. He's drinking more than usual. Sometimes I hear him crying at night. I keep quiet, not knowing what to say. Part of me feels satisfied that they're finally facing the consequences of their actions. The other part, the part that's still a mother, worries about her son no matter what. Sybil, I finally say. Your parents are adults. They created this situation and they have to find a way out. I can't go back and pretend it never happened. I know, she sighs, and I'm not asking you to do that. I just wanted you to know what's going on. Thank you, sweetheart. My voice softens. You're a very brave and smart girl. I'm proud of you. After I talk to Sybil, I can't sleep for a long time. I think about Austin, about his tears, about his marriage falling apart. Should I feel guilty? Responsibility? Number I've lived with guilt and responsibility for his well-being for decades. That's enough. It's time for him to learn to live on his own, to solve his problems without my help. And yet, he's my son, my only child. Whatever our relationship, that bond is unbreakable. I only fall asleep in the morning with a heavy heart, but a strong determination to stay the course. My new life is just beginning, and I will not let the past drag me back down. The next morning greets me with bright sunshine and clear skies. A perfect day for new beginnings. I buy a new phone, give Sybil the number, and advise her to only call when she's sure she's not being overheard. And then I do what I've been putting off all week. I call Norman Elliott and accept his invitation to a poetry evening. I'd be happy to keep you company, Elizabeth, he said, his voice warm with a slight British accent that I found charming. And I'd be glad to have your company, Norman, I reply, feeling my heart beat a little faster. When I hang up the phone, I realize I'm smiling. For the first time in a long time, I feel not just free of the past, but open to the future. For new possibilities, new relationships, new feelings. Austin, Celeste, their problems all seem distant, like a story from another life. Maybe someday I can forgive them. Maybe someday we can rebuild some kind of relationship. But it will be on my terms when I'm ready, and only if they really change. In the meantime, I have Pine Haven, my little house by the sea, new friends, and maybe a new relationship. I have the freedom to do what I want without regard for other people's expectations. And I have Sybil, albeit at a distance, but still close by in my heart. And that's enough. More than enough for a woman who has given all her life and received almost nothing in return. For a woman who only now, at 68, is finally beginning to live for herself. The morning light floods the kitchen, playing on the porcelain cups on the table. I pour the coffee into cups, add milk a little for me, a little more for Norman. In a year, I have learned his habits as well as he has learned mine. Good morning, darling. Norman enters the kitchen, fresh from his shower, his damp gray hair slicked back. He leans over and kisses my cheek, a light, almost weightless touch that nevertheless makes me feel warm inside. Good morning, I smile, handing him a cup. Did you sleep well? Like a baby, he sits down across from me. You have the most comfortable bed in Pine Haven. I laugh. It's really new, bought 6 months ago when Norman and I took things to the next level. He hasn't moved in with me. We both value our independence too much, but he spends 3 or 4 nights a week here. A year. It's been a whole year since I left Wheatland and started a new life. Sometimes I think it was in another life, with another woman. A woman who was afraid to say no, who lived other people's expectations, who thought she didn't deserve her own happiness. What's on your mind? Norman looks at me over his glasses, his blue eyes full of genuine interest. About how much things have changed in a year, I answered honestly. I'm always honest with Norman. It's one of the unspoken rules of our relationship. He nods, understanding without further explanation. He knows my story not right away, gradually, but I told him everything. About the son who wanted me out of his life. About the daughter-in-law who only saw me as a wallet. About the $3 million I'd taken with me, starting a new life. Norman never judged me for that decision. You showed courage, Elizabeth, he said, when I first told him the truth. I was still Elizabeth Crane to him then, but soon became simply Rowena. I revealed my real name only to him and no one else in Pinehaven. By the way, Sybil called, I said, remembering the conversation I'd had this morning. She and Austin are having a big fight. Norman frowns. He's never met Sybil in person, but he's heard so much about her this year that he's almost like family. What is it this time? The usual. I sigh. He won't let her stay with me for the summer. Says it's inappropriate, and that he doesn't trust her safety to a woman who stole $3 million. Norman snorts. Stole? From herself? That's exactly how he sees it. I shake my head. To him, that money has always been part of his inheritance, something that rightfully belongs to him. What about the divorce? Norman pours himself a cup of coffee. Is there any news? I nod. It'll be official next week. Celeste's already moved out, taking everything she can with her. Sybil says she's even taken down the chandeliers. No wonder. Norman shakes his head. It was clear from the start that this marriage was all about money. Your money. He's right, of course. Celeste filed for divorce 8 months after I left, when it was obvious there was no money coming back. Austin had started drinking seriously by then, had lost his job because of his systematic tardiness and absences. The house they had taken out an exorbitant mortgage on had to be sold to avoid bankruptcy. They moved into a small apartment on the outskirts of Wheatland, the same one I'd lived in for the past 20 years. It's ironic. Austin's trying to recover, I say, remembering Sybil's stories. He's found a job at an insurance company, not as prestigious as he used to be, but stable. He's seeing a psychologist. Hasn't had a drink in 2 months. That's good, Norman nods, especially for Sybil. Yes, it's the most important thing for her. I agree. She's been so exhausted this year, poor thing. Her parents' divorce, moving, changing schools. And yet she manages to keep her grades up and take theater class. Just like her grandmother. Norman winked at me, and I couldn't help but smile. After breakfast, we go for a walk, a daily ritual that has been a part of my life since coming to Pinehaven and that I now share with Norman. We walk along the shore, holding hands like teenagers, and discuss the book we are both currently reading. On the way back, we stop by the post office. Among the usual bills and handbills, I find a letter with unfamiliar handwriting on the envelope. I open it at home, sitting on the veranda with a cup of tea. Dear Mother, I don't know if this letter will reach you. I'm sending it to the address Sybil gave me, hoping she's not mistaken. I thought long and hard about whether I should write to you. Pride said I shouldn't, that you should take the first step after what you've done. But the psychologist convinced me that was the wrong approach, that I should take responsibility for my words and actions. I was a terrible son, selfish, ungrateful, greedy. I took your help and care for granted without thinking about what it cost you. And when you left, taking your money with you, I was angry not because I had lost my mother, but because I had lost my financial support. It's embarrassing to admit, but it's true. Divorcing Celeste opened my eyes to a lot of things. The way I was in our marriage, the way I was with you. It's painful to face, but it's necessary. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm not asking for money. I'm not even asking for forgiveness because maybe I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that I understand why you left. And I'm glad you had the strength to do it, that you didn't let me continue to take advantage of your kindness. Sybil tells me you're happy in your new life. You have friends, hobbies, even a relationship with a good man. I'm happy for you, Mother. I really am. If you ever want to get in touch with me, I'll be waiting. But I'll understand if you'd rather leave the past in the past. Love, Austin. I reread the letter twice, feeling tears come to my eyes. It's like Austin in his best moments, when he was sincere, open, able to admit his mistakes. That's how I remember him as a kid, before life's hardships and Celeste's influence turned him into someone I barely recognized. Bad news? Norman comes out onto the porch and sits down next to me, concerned by my tears. No, I shake my head. A letter from Austin, the first one all year. I hold it out to him and he reads it, taking his time, scrutinizing every word. Then he folds it neatly and hands it back to me. What do you think? He asks, not trying to give me advice or an opinion. I don't know, I admit honestly. Part of me wants to believe that he's changed. that this is genuine remorse and not another attempt at manipulation. But another part of me is afraid of being disappointed again. Norman nods, understanding my doubts. You don't have to decide right now, he says softly. Give yourself time to think about it. He's right, of course. It's not a decision that should be made in haste. I put the letter away and try not to think about it until evening when Sybil calls again. Did you get the letter from Papa? She asks me without preamble. I did, I answer. Did you know he was going to write? Yes, I heard hope in her voice. He showed me the draft. He rewrote it 3 times, can you believe it? He wanted it to sound sincere. And is it sincere? I'm asking him straight out. Or does he just want his money back? Sybil is silent for a few seconds. I think it's sincere, she says at last. He's really changed, Grandma. With no mom, no money, no prestigious job, it's as if he's become real, like I barely remember him. Her words make me wonder. Maybe losing everything he thought was important really helped Austin reevaluate his life. Maybe he's finally grown up. He's asking about you, Sybil continued, but he doesn't press. He doesn't ask for your address or phone number. He just asks if you're happy. And what do you say? I wonder. The truth? I hear a smile in her voice. That you're finally happy. That you have a beautiful house by the sea, friends, your own garden, and even a boyfriend. I laugh at the last one. Norman's not exactly boyfriend, sweetheart. It's a word more suited to your age. Okay, partner, she laughs too. Or life partner. What do you old guys call it these days? We old guys, I emphasize the word jokingly, prefer not to label each other. We just enjoy each other's company. That's so sweet, she said with genuine warmth in her voice. I'm so happy for you, Grandma, and I'm dying to meet your non-boyfriend. You'll meet him, I promise, if your father will let you come for the summer. About that. She pauses dramatically. He said yes. He just said I could stay with you all summer if that's okay. My heart leaps for joy. A whole summer with Sybil, a chance to show her around Pine Haven, to introduce her to Norman and my friends, just to be around every day. Of course I don't mind, I exclaimed. I'd be happy to have you here. Great! She sounds as excited as I am. I'll come right after I finish school. Dad says he can bring me himself if you don't mind. That offer takes me by surprise. Austin wants to come, to see me, to see my new life. Yeah. I need to think about it, I answer honestly. Give me a few days, okay? Sure, she understands my doubts. He said he'd understand if you'd rather I came alone. After talking to Sybil, I sit on the veranda for a long time, looking out at the ocean and thinking, am I ready to see Austin? To let him into my new life, however briefly? Would it destroy the peace and harmony I'd worked so hard to build? A week later, during another conversation with Sybil, I finally make a decision. Tell your father he can bring you, I say, feeling strangely calm after my decision. But don't let him expect too much. We can talk, but I can't promise that things will be the same. The day Sybil and Austin arrive, I wake up early. I've changed not only internally but externally over the year. The sea air and regular walks have given a healthy blush to my cheeks. My hair, which I used to always dye, is now a natural silver color. And there's a sparkle in my eyes that hasn't been there in years. At noon, I hear the sound of a car pulling up. I step out onto the porch and see them. Sybil jumping out of the car with her backpack over her shoulder, and Austin slowly getting out of the driver's side. Sybil runs to me and I open my arms, feeling my heart overflow with love. She's grown over the year, looking even more like her grandfather. But her eyes are Austin's eyes, dark, expressive. Grandma! She hugs me so tightly that I almost lose my balance. Finally, I've missed you so much. I missed you too, sweetheart, I whisper, kissing the top of her head. Missed her so much. Austin stands a few feet away from us, hesitant to come closer. He's changed too. He's lost weight, graying at the temples, and his features have become sharper. But what strikes me most of all are his eyes, which no longer have the arrogance and condescension I'm used to. Only uncertainty and something akin to hope. Hello, Mom, he says softly. Hello, Austin, I reply, releasing Sybil from his embrace, but leaving my hand on her shoulder. There is an awkward pause. We stare at each other, not knowing what to say. how to bridge the gap between us. You have a beautiful home, he finally says, looking back at my little cottage with its flowering garden. Thank you, I nod. Come in, I've made dinner. When it's time for him to leave, I walk him to his car. Sybil stands beside me, her hand in mine. Thank you for letting me come, Austin says, looking at me with an uncertain smile. And thank you for trusting me with Sybil. She loves you, I answer simply. No matter what, you're her father. He nods, his eyes glittering suspiciously. Then, after a second's hesitation, he steps forward and puts his arms around me gingerly, as if he's afraid I'll push him away. I don't push him away, and I don't hug back. I just stand there, allowing him this moment of intimacy. Take care of yourself, Mom, he whispers, pulling back. And take care of your new life. You deserve to be happy. I watch him get into the car and drive away, getting smaller and smaller on the horizon until he disappears from sight altogether. Sybil squeezes my hand. Are you all right, Grandmother? Yes, darling, I smile at her. I'm fine, and it's true. I'm really fine. I have my house by the sea, my friends, my Norman. I have Sybil, not always with me, but always in my heart. I have freedom, the precious, long-suffering freedom to be myself, to live for myself. And I have money. $3 million that I had saved all my life for my family, but which finally gave me a chance at true happiness at the end of my life. Money that became not a curse, but a blessing when I finally learned to use it properly. Not to buy someone's love, but to provide myself with a decent, free life. I don't know what's next for Austin, whether we'll ever get back to a normal relationship. But what I do know is that I'm never going back to my old life. I will never be the same Rowena who lived other people's expectations and other people's dreams. Late at night, when Sybil is already asleep in her new room, I sit on the veranda with Norman, admiring the stars over the ocean. What are you thinking about? He asks, taking my hand. Freedom has a price, I answer, looking up at the night sky. Sometimes that price is the break with the past, the loss of relationships, the pain of separation. But it's worth it. Norman squeezes my hand, and we sit in comfortable silence, listening to the sound of the waves and enjoying the peace I finally found. The peace that was worth $3 million, but that no amount of money could buy.